Whether you're stuck in traffic, hitting the gym, or just winding down, we are here to spill the hottest tea from your favorite Bravo shows. From the wildest reunions to the quietest social media unfollows, we cover it all. So welcome back to Reality TV Podcast and Clips. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Let's get into it on 3, 2, 1.
All right, we are off.
We really are. And right after that countdown, we are diving straight into a massive stack of updates today, just across the entire reality TV universe.
There is a lot of ground to cover.
So much. The mission today is to unpack this mountain of recent events and, really look closely at what they reveal about the machinery of these shows. We're talking about the business maneuvers, the personal boundaries, and just the raw humanity operating right behind the screen.
Because we're looking at how these cast members navigate their actual everyday lives, when the cameras are rolling, and perhaps even more tellingly when they aren't. Because the core reality of reality television is that the psychological and the social implications of their behavior, they echo so far beyond a single edited hour of programming. We are watching a real-time evolution of how people manage their public personas versus their private realities.
Exactly. And I think we should start right in Beverly Hills for this, because the whole wealth and wellness dynamic there is shifting in a major way. It brings up some really fascinating questions about financial boundaries.
Oh, absolutely. The financial boundaries are completely shifting.
Yeah, so Amanda Francis recently made some very public comments regarding Dorit's spending habits.
Which is always a risky topic on this show.
Right. Amanda essentially validated Kyle's concerns about Dorit lacking a known retirement fund or, any visible long-term investments. And saying that out loud about a castmate in a franchise that is literally built on wealth is a major move.
It's a huge move.
But what really stood out to me is how Amanda wrapped up that thought. She ultimately concluded that Dorit is an adult, and if she says she's fine, that's all they can do.
Which is just a masterclass in establishing a psychological boundary.
Totally.
Because in reality television, financial transparency is constantly weaponized. Cast members use each other's money issues to secure their own storylines all the time.
Oh, they love auditing each other.
They really do. So when Amanda points out the lack of retirement planning, she is highlighting a very real anxiety that exists in a world where your primary income is entirely tied to your cultural relevance.
That is such a good point. You age out or you get fired and the money just stops.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But by immediately following it up with she's an adult,
Yeah.
Amanda observes this situation without attempting to control it. She completely refuses to take on Dorit's financial burden as her own emotional problem.
And Amanda is fiercely protective of her own financial boundaries too, especially since she has been on the defensive lately. She recently had to push back against claims from castmates that her manifestation and spirituality courses are some kind of scam.
Which is such a loaded word to throw around.
It really is. And Amanda pointed out that tens of thousands of women willingly buy her digital products on repeat. She made it crystal clear that her money is her own, she is an autonomous adult, and nobody is taking money from anyone against their will.
It highlights a really persistent double standard. Women, particularly in the public eye, are routinely scrutinized, not just for how they spend their money, but for the actual mechanics of how they make it.
Yes.
Amanda is selling digital products, which is a modern business model that often gets unfairly stigmatized, especially when you compare it to traditional brick-and-mortar businesses that the legacy cast members are used to.
Right, like opening a restaurant or a boutique.
Exactly. And what is incredibly telling here is Amanda's absolute pride in her financial status. She openly discussed being the breadwinner over her fiancé, Eddie.
And he fully supports it, which is great.
He does. And Amanda noted that she grew up in the 80s, an era where it was incredibly rare for women to be the primary earners in a household. She's intentionally and very vocally owning her success.
I hear what you're saying about Amanda reclaiming her power as a modern CEO and framing it around her 80s upbringing is such a strong narrative.
It anchors it really well.
It does. But it also raises an interesting conversation about audience perception. Because the other women in the cast are questioning the nature of selling manifestation courses, and it creates this friction between what constitutes an empowering digital business versus what critics might label as grift.
It's a very fine line in the eyes of the viewers.
It is. But Amanda is actively trying to reframe that narrative and assert her legitimacy. She is definitely leaning into the ownership of her lifestyle. She even pushed back on the criticism that she name drops luxury designers too much.
Oh, her defense for that was fascinating.
It was basically, we're on a show about rich women with cool stuff. She finds the juxtaposition of things like hiking with Chanel to be culturally relevant and, frankly, funny for the show they are making.
And that self-awareness is precisely what separates the newer generation of cast members from the legacy stars.
Yeah.
Amanda understands the assignment. She knows the overarching theme of the Beverly Hills franchise has always been aspirational, somewhat absurd wealth.
Right, the absurdity is the point.
Exactly. And she is gearing up for her 2026 wedding and explicitly stated she hopes to set the record straight at the upcoming reunion regarding the group conversations about Dorit. She was emphasizing that those chats were actually quite benign.
She really is demonstrating a shift in how to navigate those legacy dynamics. She's learning to stand up for herself using a more regulated intellectual approach to conflict resolution.
Which completely disarms the older cast members. They are entirely conditioned to expect escalated theatrical shouting matches.
Absolutely. So we've been unpacking the psychological boundaries these women establish around their money, their careers, and their social standing. But what happens when those boundaries cross over from the psychological into the physical world?
That is a much heavier conversation.
It is. Let's look at the situation out of West Hollywood involving Lisa Rinna. There are severe allegations regarding a premiere party at the Abbey. Lisa claimed she was drugged, stating she tested positive for fentanyl and amphetamines. Castmates like Colton Underwood reportedly noticed her sudden inebriation despite her consuming very little alcohol.
Because these are severe allegations involving personal safety, it is critical that we examine the facts presented by all parties with complete neutrality here.
Absolutely. We were just looking at the source material.
Right. From the venue side, the Abbey conducted a thorough internal review. According to their public statements, they polled and reviewed all available surveillance footage from the time in question. They interviewed the staff on duty that night and ultimately stated they found no evidence of drink tampering.
To add another layer to how this is unfolding, law enforcement confirmed that no police report was ever filed regarding the incident.
Which changes the dynamic entirely.
It does. Because when Lisa discussed the situation, she claimed her team is dealing with it and alleged that this kind of thing happens to so many people at that specific location. We are watching a very serious accusation play out entirely in the media rather than a courtroom.
It brings up massive, broader implications about safety at high-profile events. But it also shines a light on how public figures manage severe allegations outside of the traditional legal system.
It's a completely different playbook.
It is. When celebrity brings an accusation of this magnitude directly to their audience rather than filing a formal report, it creates a highly complex crisis management scenario.
Because the venue is forced to defend its reputation in the court of public opinion.
Exactly. They have to rely on their internal security protocols as their defense.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the public, you, me, everyone listening, is left to parse through two entirely conflicting narratives without the benefit of an objective legal investigation.
Right.
It highlights the immense power and the potential peril of utilizing a massive platform to address serious real-world allegations.
It forces you to question how much we can ever truly know about the reality of these off-camera events.
Yeah.
The line between what happens in the real world and what gets filtered through a PR team is incredibly blurry.
It's almost impossible to distinguish sometimes.
And that shifting line between reality and television production is also front and center, with some major casting shakeups happening right now. Let's look at Orange County.
Oh, the rumors coming out of Orange County are fascinating.
There is a massive casting rumor circulating that Carmela Garcia, who you might know as an Oppenheim Group real estate agent, a former WW diva and a Playboy model, is allegedly joining for the landmark 20th season.
Wow.
Meanwhile, Katie and Gretchen are out, and Vicky is officially returning.
Hitting a 20th season is a monumental achievement in any television genre, let alone reality TV. Analyzing this specific casting strategy is basically a masterclass in network production.
How so?
Well, bringing back a legacy cast member like Vicky provides the necessary nostalgia. She is the foundational DNA of that franchise. Her early seasons were built on raw, unpolished, historical chaos.
It really feels like the network is trying to create a Frankenstein season.
There's a great way to put it.
They are mixing Vicky's old-school, unfiltered chaos with someone like Carmela. Carmela comes from a completely different, highly produced reality network and has a background in incredibly performative industries like the WWE.
It is a deliberate strategy.
It has to be. They are blending the raw origins of the show with the highly polished, cross-promotional talent that dominates modern reality television. You really have to wonder if those two styles of reality TV can even coexist, or if they are just going to completely clash.
But that clash is exactly what the network is banking on for viewership. It is a manufactured collision of two different eras of reality television.
It's engineered conflict.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But while Orange County is busy engineering that collision, the tone over in Salt Lake City has completely shifted due to real-world events.
Yeah, we need to discuss the incredibly tragic passing of Mary Cosby's 23-year-old son, Robert Jr.
It is just so heartbreaking.
It has been reported that Mary will return to the show in an effort to maintain some semblance of normalcy in her daily routine. However, the production team is stepping back entirely. They are removing all the pressure and letting Mary dictate her own filming pace.
This really proves that the reality TV villain or the reality TV best friend are really just uniforms these cast members wear for work.
That's exactly what they are, uniforms.
Because when an unfathomable real-life tragedy strikes, they take the uniforms off. The fourth wall completely shattered here.
We are seeing reports that the cast has entirely paused all of their ongoing Season 6 feuds. They are rallying around Mary with visits, phone calls, and texts.
The psychological toll of losing a child is beyond comprehension. What is truly remarkable from a sociological standpoint is watching how real-life grief overrides the artificial constraints of reality programming.
It just puts everything into perspective.
It does. Beneath the manufactured drama, the shifting alliances, and the petty arguments over dinner seating, there is a baseline of basic humanity.
And we are seeing it in real time.
The cast and the production crew are prioritizing compassion and, in Mary's case, honoring her faith, over the demands of delivering a dramatic season. It forces everyone involved, including the audience, to remember that these are real people experiencing genuine trauma.
It strips away all the artifice. When the cameras fade to the background, real life is what actually matters.
Absolutely.
But sometimes, real life and the cameras get tangled up in a way that creates a massive psychological burden for the cast. Let's head over to the Valley and look at Mercedes Jabed.
This is such a complex situation.
She is currently navigating a very confusing divorce from Tommy Fifedev. They are still legally married, they are still wearing their wedding rings, and Mercedes has openly called the idea of moving on horrifying.
The psychology of a reality TV couple hitting a dead end is uniquely complex because their relationship hasn't just been a private partnership, it has been a public commodity for years.
It's content for the show.
Yes. So Mercedes is experiencing profound cognitive dissonance right now.
Right. It's that mental tug of war. She's literally wearing the symbol of her marriage on her finger while dealing with the paperwork to end it. Her brain is living in two completely different realities simultaneously.
Precisely. Wearing the ring while acknowledging the divorce suggests a deep, paralyzing fear of the unknown. Furthermore, she is actively avoiding a reunion right now because of the sheer finality and the confrontation it guarantees.
Reunions are brutal even when you aren't going through a divorce.
Exactly. A reunion forces you to contextualize your personal trauma, neatly package it, and explain it to an audience while defending yourself against castmates.
And she specifically noted issues with castmate Sky Asghari. She feels that Sky needs to be far less defensive.
Right. Mercedes simply doesn't have the emotional bandwidth to process the grief of her failing marriage while simultaneously managing reality TV interpersonal warfare.
It sounds incredibly draining. You are essentially forced to perform your own heartbreak.
Performing heartbreak, that is exactly what it is.
And that heavy, suffocating dynamic stands in such stark contrast to Paige DeSorbo's recent life updates.
Oh, completely different energy.
Night and day. Paige just confirmed she is now exclusive with Joe D'Amelio. When talking about him, she highlighted a very specific trait she appreciates. She said he is quiet and knows when to shut it.
Which is a very telling compliment.
On top of that relationship update, Paige has officially left Summit House. She cited that reality TV was for her 20s, and now that she is in her 30s, she wants to actively control what she shares with the public.
Paige's trajectory represents a fascinating growing trend in the reality star life cycle. We are witnessing savvy individuals who leverage their 20s for maximum exposure.
They use it as a launchpad.
Exactly. They use the platform, they build their personal brand, they monetize the chaos, and they accept the lack of privacy as the cost of doing business. But as they transition into their 30s, their priorities fundamentally shift towards psychological safety and stability.
She is basically editing her own life now, on her own terms. Reclaiming her privacy is a massive flex of power in an industry that demands you share everything.
It's the ultimate power move.
And by specifically praising a partner who is quiet, She is actively rejecting the loud, performative masculinity that so often drives the main storylines on shows like Summer House. She built a sustainable platform, and now she is choosing exactly who gets access to it.
It is the ultimate evolution of a reality star. They go from being at the mercy of the network's editing bay to becoming the executive producers of their own real lives.
Speaking of cast members taking control of the narrative, let's head down to Southern Charm to look at how off-camera actions are completely driving the show right now.
Off-camera stuff is where the real story is.
We really need to break down Vanita Aspen's reaction to Craig Conover's drunken outburst towards Sally Carson. It escalated to the point where Sally actually texted Vanita mid-incident, saying she was scared.
That is a very heavy word to use in a text to a friend.
It is, and Vanita is navigating a total minefield of allegiances here. Because she defended Austin Kroll's actions, specifically him kissing Sally as a mechanism to get over Audrey.
Which, frankly, shows a highly pragmatic, if slightly cynical, view of how group hookups operate within this specific social circle.
Pragmatic is a good word for it.
She is willing to overlook certain behaviors if she understands the underlying emotional utility of them.
But simultaneously, she completely shut down her former flame, JT. Her exact quote was, "Everything I know about that man is against my own will."
That is incredible.
I mean, write that on my tombstone. That is one of the most brutally polite, devastating takedowns I've ever heard. But jokes aside, looking at the text messages from Sally saying she is scared and Vanita drawing these hard lines in the sand, it shows how the off-camera alliances are increasingly becoming the actual storyline.
The cast is producing themselves at this point.
They really are.
When a cast member texts another saying they're genuinely scared during an off-camera moment, it introduces a level of visceral, unpolished reality that a highly produced, well-lit dinner party argument simply cannot match.
You can't script that kind of reaction.
You can't. It forces the audience to confront the emotional reality of these situations, rather than just viewing them as scripted entertainment. The boundaries between the television show and their actual lived experiences are practically non-existent in those moments. The text messages and the off-camera phone calls are where the real show is happening.
So bringing this all together for you, the listener, if there is one core theme to pull from this massive stack of updates, it is that the line between reality TV and actual reality is constantly shifting.
It is always moving.
The stars we follow are actively renegotiating their boundaries right in front of us. Whether it's Paige walking away from a hit show to protect her peace and privacy, Amanda fiercely defending her financial independence and reframing her career, or the Salt Lake cast dropping every single petty grievance to support a grieving mother. They are deciding what is for public consumption and what belongs strictly to them.
And that is precisely why unpacking this matters to you. Watching these shows isn't just a mindless way to zone out. It is a real-time, ongoing study in human boundaries, crisis management, and the evolution of personal branding.
It's a sociological experiment.
It is. You are watching real human beings navigate extreme social experiments. How they handle public grief, financial autonomy, and interpersonal conflict offers incredibly valuable psychological insights that apply far beyond the Bravo universe.
It really does. Once you see the underlying mechanics of how these casts operate, it makes you look at the entire genre through a completely different lens. It isn't just drama, it is strategy. So, we want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over. When the cameras finally stop rolling and the dramatic music fades, who holds the real power? The networks producing the show, or the cast members who are finally learning how to edit their own lives? Think about that the next time you tune in.